Do you ever get paid and then a week later wonder where all your money went? You're not reckless. You're not bad with money. You're just busy. You've got bills, kids, a boss asking for another quick favor, and maybe even that feeling like no matter how much you earn, it's never enough. And that's not just frustrating, it's exhausting. You sit down with your paycheck thinking, okay, this time I'm going to be smart about it. But life happens. Groceries, daycare, car maintenance, someone's birthday, a last-minute school fee, and poof, it's gone. And you didn't even do anything fun with it. No vacation, no self-care day, just surviving. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And you're definitely not failing. You're living in a world that never taught most of us how to be intentional with our money, especially when we're pulled in so many directions: work, family, bills, our own health. The system says, earn more. But what they don't say is, it's not just about how much you make. It's about what you do with it the second it hits your account. That's what we're talking about today. 6 smart things to do with your paycheck before you spend a dime. Not after the bills are paid. Not when you have a little left over. Before any of it goes anywhere. Because that moment, right when the money lands, is where your power really is. Now, I'm not coming at you with some kind of perfect plan or financial lecture. This isn't about cutting out every coffee or eating rice and beans for a year. I respect your life. I know it's not just about numbers. It's about freedom, peace of mind, and creating a life that feels better, not just looks better on paper. So let me start with something simple. Picture this. It's a Friday morning. You've just been paid. You log into your bank app and you feel that little rush, relief, maybe even excitement. Then, hesitation. You know what's coming. Rent. Bills. That credit card. You've already mentally spent half the money. And the other half? You wish you could just tuck some of it away, but it never seems to work that way. But what if it could? What if, right now, you could build a tiny habit, like a mental muscle, that helps you hold on to more of your paycheck and feel less anxious about money in general? That first move, before anything else, is something I call paying your future self first. And no, I don't mean throwing thousands into an investment account overnight. I mean something small but powerful. Before a single bill gets paid, before groceries, before rent, you automatically transfer a small amount, whatever you can handle, to a savings account you don't touch. Not a maybe someday fund, a non-negotiable step. Even if it's $20. Why? Because the habit is more important than the amount. When you treat your future self like someone who matters, someone worthy of peace, of options, of rest, you start reshaping your whole relationship with money. You stop feeling like it's just flowing through you and start feeling like it's working for you. And I get it. Sometimes even $20 feels like a luxury. But here's the thing. You've probably spent $20 this week on something forgettable. Most of us do. This isn't about guilt. It's about claiming your right to keep something before the world takes it all. I started doing this when I was drowning in bills. At first, it didn't feel like it mattered. But over a few months, that tiny amount became an emergency buffer. A little safety net. It didn't solve everything, but it gave me breathing room. And when you're in your 30s or 40s with a family or just a pile of responsibilities, that breathing room is everything. Let me tell you something else I wish someone had said to me earlier. Your paycheck isn't just money. It's energy. It's the time you traded from your life. The late nights, the skipped lunches, the emotional load of carrying teams, kids, aging parents, or just yourself. So if you're going to trade all that life force for a paycheck, the least you deserve is to keep some of it for yourself, for your future, for that version of you who will still have dreams and needs and a life to live 5 years from now. And once you've paid your future self, even if it's just a few bucks. Here's the next thing I recommend, and it might sound weird at first. Check in with your emotions before you spend anything else. Yeah, I know, that's not what most people say when they talk about budgeting. But here's why it matters. Most of us aren't just spending money. We're spending emotions. We shop when we're stressed. We overorder takeout when we're tired. We buy stuff we don't need to feel a little more in control when life feels chaotic. I've done it. After a hard week, I'd tell myself, I deserve this, and hit buy now without thinking twice. And hey, sometimes you really do deserve it. But the difference between intentional and impulsive spending is that pause, that one deep breath to ask, what am I really trying to fix here? Is it exhaustion? Loneliness? That quiet pressure to prove something on social media? You don't need a spreadsheet to answer those questions. Just honesty. Just a moment of realness with yourself. Because when you start connecting your spending to your emotional state, you can stop money from becoming a bandage and start using it as a tool. So here's something you can try next payday. Before you spend, check in. Like, really check in. How are you actually feeling? Overwhelmed? Rushed? Bored? Are you spending to escape a mood or to meet a real need? You'd be amazed how many money choices shift once you stop to ask that. When I started doing this, I realized half my impulse buys were just me trying to avoid feeling tired or stuck. But guess what? No amount of packages showing up at my door fixed that feeling. What helped more was letting myself rest, or talk to someone, or just sit outside for a minute. That costs nothing, and it actually worked. And you know what? I didn't have to stop spending. I just started spending on purpose, with clarity, with a little more kindness toward myself. Because that's what this is really about. Not guilt, not deprivation, but clarity, empowerment, and honoring your paycheck as more than just a means to survive. It's your chance to build something better, even if it's one tiny step at a time. And that's where this conversation really starts. So once you've paid your future self first, even just a small amount, and taken a moment to check in with how you're really feeling, you've already done something most people skip entirely. You've created space, not just in your budget, but in your mind. That pause, that breath, that intention, it's powerful. It's the difference between reacting and choosing. And in that space, you can now do something that might not sound exciting, but I promise you, it's a game changer. Face your fixed costs head on. Here's what I mean. So many of us treat bills like this dark cloud that just looms over payday. We pay them grudgingly, sometimes late, sometimes automatically, without really knowing what's going where. And the truth is, when you don't have a clear view of your fixed costs, your rent or mortgage, utilities, phone, subscriptions, insurance, all that stuff, you can't really feel in control. It's like trying to drive at night with your headlights off. You might be moving forward, but you have no idea what's in front of you. Now, I'm not suggesting you pull out a giant spreadsheet and track every cent unless you like that kind of thing. I'm talking about a 10-minute check-in. Look at the essentials. What has to get paid this month? What's on autopay that you've forgotten about? What's draining your paycheck in the background? When I finally did this, I found 2 subscriptions I hadn't used in 6 months. Now, one was $12.99 a month. The other was $6. That's $19 a month just quietly disappearing for nothing. Over a year, that's more than $200, enough for a weekend getaway, enough to cover an emergency, enough to help a friend. And I wasn't even using the services. And look, I get it, life is noisy, bills are boring, but clarity is calming. Knowing what's going out every month gives you freedom, not restriction. Because then you're not waking up 3 days after payday wondering why you're already broke. I've seen this with parents especially. There's so much going on, school fees, snacks, clothes, dentist appointments, that it's easy to just operate in survival mode. But even a quick glance at your fixed costs helps you ask better questions. Like, do we still need that extra data plan? Or can I switch to a cheaper utility provider? These aren't radical moves, but they compound. One small decision, one canceled service, one smarter bill can give you back money every month. And that money, you can redirect it towards savings, toward debt, or towards something more meaningful than a forgotten streaming app. Once you've got that clearer picture of your non-negotiables, the next move is something I wish we talked about more often, especially as adults, especially when life feels stretched thin. And that's paying for peace of mind on purpose. Let me explain. We're told to save, invest, budget, all the logical stuff. But sometimes the smartest thing you can do with your paycheck is spend a little on something that gives you back time, sanity, or mental rest. For you, maybe that's a house cleaner once a month, or a grocery delivery service that saves you 2 hours every week, or therapy, or a babysitter so you and your partner can actually sit down and talk like humans again. It doesn't have to be expensive, it just has to be intentional. Because here's the hard truth. Burnout is expensive. Resentment is expensive. Divorce, depression, medical stress, they all cost way more than taking care of yourself proactively. I remember one mom telling me she felt guilty every time she ordered dinner instead of cooking. But she also worked 50 hours a week, had 2 kids under 10, and hadn't had a real break in months. So yeah, ordering dinner once a week, that wasn't lazy, that was survival. That was self-respect. You don't earn bonus points for doing everything the hard way. You don't become a better adult by running yourself into the ground. You become a better adult, a better partner, parent, friend, employee, when you have the energy to actually be present. And sometimes that means spending a little bit of your paycheck to protect your peace. Now, I'm not saying you should throw all your money at convenience. What I'm saying is, look at your spending and ask, does this make my life easier in a way that truly matters to me? Not to impress anyone. Not because TikTok told you to buy it, but because it gives you real relief, real breathing room. Maybe that's a gym membership that keeps your mind clear. Maybe it's a monthly massage that keeps your stress from boiling over. Maybe it's a service that frees you up to actually play with your kids instead of just managing them all day. Whatever it is, build it into your money plan on purpose. Let it be part of your wellness, not a guilty pleasure you try to hide from your bank account. And if you're thinking, I don't have the luxury to do that, I hear you, truly. But even a small shift can help. Maybe it's buying pre-chopped veggies so dinner's easier. Maybe it's giving yourself permission to take a $10 Uber instead of walking home at night when you're dead tired. Maybe it's budgeting for one tiny indulgence that keeps you from snapping at the people you love. Peace of mind doesn't always come from earning more. Sometimes it comes from being kinder to yourself with the money you already have. And the beautiful thing is, when you treat yourself with that level of care and respect, it starts to change your whole perspective on money. You stop thinking of it as this scarce, stressful thing, and start seeing it as a tool, a support system, a partner in your well-being. Because that's really what we're trying to build here. Not just a budget, but a life that feels good to live in, where you're not always scrambling, not always behind, where your money supports the things that matter most to you, not just the things screaming the loudest. And if that life feels far off right now, I want to remind you of something. Every big change starts small. One new habit, one honest look at your expenses, one choice to keep a little more, to spend a little smarter, to give yourself a little grace. That's all it takes to start moving in a new direction. And from there, the next steps start to feel less overwhelming, a little more doable, a little more you. So now that you've started building those habits, paying your future self first, checking in with your emotions, getting clear on your fixed costs, and giving yourself permission to spend on peace, there's something else we need to talk about. Something that doesn't always feel urgent, but shapes everything. It's what I call aligning your paycheck with your actual priorities. And I emphasize actual because for a lot of us, our money is going to things we don't even value. Not really. It's going to the version of us we think we should be. The parent who always says yes, the partner who never complains, the friend who shows up with the best gifts, the employee who never takes a break. But when you take a step back and ask, what do I really care about? What kind of life do I want to build? Not just survive. Your money starts to take on a different meaning. Maybe you've never asked yourself that. That's okay. Most of us are too busy trying to stay afloat. But I promise, this question is worth sitting with. Because when your spending doesn't match your values, you always feel off balance, like you're working hard and still not getting the life you want. Let me give you a real example. I was coaching someone a while back, mid-30s, solid income, always felt broke. We looked at where the money was going, and it turns out he was spending hundreds each month eating out with coworkers he didn't even like, while skipping vacations with his family because he couldn't afford it. And when I asked him what mattered most, he didn't hesitate. My kids, making memories. So we made one shift, cut back on the work lunches, and started setting aside that money in a travel fund. A few months later, he surprised his kids with a weekend road trip. Nothing fancy, just time together. And he said, that trip meant more than any raise I've gotten in the last 5 years. That's the power of alignment. When your paycheck starts supporting what really matters to you, your whole life feels more stable, more fulfilling. You're not just chasing money, you're using it to create meaning. And that brings me to the last piece of this whole mindset shift, the one that quietly changes everything. And that is letting go of shame around your money story. Look, I don't know what your financial past looks like. Maybe you've made mistakes, racked up debt, spent when you were emotional, avoided your balance because it gave you anxiety. Maybe you felt embarrassed because people your age should have figured this out by now. If that's you, I see you. I've been you. And I want to tell you something that most financial experts won't. You are not your money mistakes. You are not behind. You're not broken. You're learning. And you're growing. And just by watching this video, by caring enough to think about your next paycheck differently, you're already ahead of where you were yesterday. We carry so much quiet shame about money. We compare ourselves to people online or assume everyone else has it together. But the truth? Most people are struggling silently. Most people are figuring it out as they go. And pretending you've got it all under control doesn't build wealth. It just builds pressure. So instead of beating yourself up, try this. Thank yourself for showing up, for working, for trying, for doing the best you can, even when it's hard. That mindset, that compassion is the foundation for real, lasting change. Because from that place, you can start building habits that stick, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. You can say, I'm saving because I deserve security. I'm spending less on stuff because I value peace more than clutter. I'm investing in rest because burnout isn't a badge of honor. That's not just smart, that's powerful. And look, there's no magic formula that'll fix everything overnight. Life is unpredictable, expenses come out of nowhere. But you don't need perfect circumstances. You just need a few consistent, thoughtful actions. Every paycheck, every time. And over time, they add up. More savings, less stress, more confidence, fewer what just happened to my money moments. So let me leave you with this. If you've ever felt like you work so hard, but have nothing to show for it, if you've ever opened your banking app and felt a wave of anxiety, if you've ever wished someone would just hand you a roadmap, I hope this has felt like that first signpost. You don't need to be rich to take control. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start with one intention, to treat your money like it matters, because you matter. Start small, stay consistent, give yourself grace. And if this resonated with you, if it felt like something you've needed to hear, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one small shift you're planning to make with your next paycheck? Or even just a mindset you're trying to adopt? And if this kind of real-life practical support is something you want more of, hit that like button and consider subscribing. I create videos like this for people like you, people who are doing the work, showing up for their lives, and looking for a little more clarity, peace, and purpose along the way. Your story isn't stuck. You're not behind. You're just getting started. And I'm so glad you're here.